Hey, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. All right. Will, Grace, Principal Robinson, Headmaster Schaefer, thank you for allowing me to be here. And those with me who are here in the audience, thank you for allowing us all to be here with you this evening. So I have one question for all of you before I kick this thing off, and it's this. Who's excited for a ton of homework this year? Okay. I'm not so sure about that, and all jokes aside, I am here this evening as a friend of your community, as an ally, so to speak. I'm here as someone who thinks that what you have here is worth having, appreciating, and giving your best to. Your motto for the school year is "Together we will rise." And I need your help with something. I would like you to raise your hand, regardless of how old you are, if you have faced some things in the last 2 years that have brought you low or left you feeling beat down. Now keep your hand raised, or raise your hand if you have had moments where you just wanted to be alone or left alone. Look around you with the hands up. You see, together, you have been brought low, beat up, beat down, and have gone through times of being alone or wanting to be left alone. Therefore, your motto of "Together we will rise" is not just a motto. It's an option, a potential outcome. It's a possibility if you all want it. In my remaining time with you, I'm going to navigate in 3 movements. First, I want to talk about some of the things that keep us from being together. Second, I want to give you students some practical advice on how to live your lives together this year as students, friends, members of your own respective families. Lastly, I want to speak to all of you as a diverse community with the motto of our year in mind. So, enemies of togetherness. The first enemy of togetherness is self-focused. You live in a world, students, actually parents, you too, but students, you live in a world that wants you to go around thinking about one thing: yourself. And a life lived in this way, or in your case, a school year spent this way, is going to produce anxiety. It's going to produce arrogance. It's going to produce depression, selfishness, carelessness, and the worst of all, it's going to lead you to compare yourselves to each other. The second enemy of togetherness will be lying. Small white lies, big lies. Lying is the enemy of togetherness because it eats at the trust of others, and it ultimately will destroy your own confidence in yourself and your abilities. Enemy of togetherness number 3 is complaining instead of communicating to find solutions. So facing the facts, we know just your reputation as a school community precedes you every year. This school year is going to be hard. That's why I'm making jokes about how much homework you're going to have. It's going to be hard, even for you young ones. You may not understand the things you're being taught. Your athletic season may not go the way you want. You might get benched. You may never play. You may never score a goal, make a layup. You probably won't dunk, any of those things. You may lose a debate, a match. You might even lose a friendship. But it is with the utmost respect that I say to you all, so what? You won't be the only person in the world who deals with this. You won't be the only person in your community or your school who will go through such circumstances. The fourth enemy of togetherness will be a fear of making mistakes. The competitive nature of this school, the scholastic achievements, you're constantly measured against each other. And what that can do is breed a fear of making mistakes, a lust for perfection. I just want to tell you now that will be a foolish thing. For you young ones, you 7th and 8th graders, if you are stressed out of your minds by way of getting a C, a C+, a B+, or even an A-. Take a step back. Don't let the fear of making mistakes lead you to go back to being self-focused, focusing on yourself, turning inward. The fifth enemy of togetherness is going to be a lack of curiosity. So I want to challenge you with this, to actually be curious about the people you go to school with. If you are only focused on you and only on those who give you their attention, you're merely just looking at each other. And when you do that, you will miss the opportunity to impact more people around you this school year. Now for some practical advice. And the question is going to be, well, why should I listen to you? And if I'm being honest, you should listen to me because I'm older than you. So you young men out there, you're all young men comparatively to me, who's 34. But young men, I say to you, be the kind of young man who holds the door open for the person behind him. If you have sisters or a mother, make it a practice this year, tonight even, as you leave, to open the car door for them. This may sound lame. You might look and feel weird, but if you are the kind of young man who does these things for the people around him, then you are developing yourself into a man who cares, a man who serves. Young man, I advise you to learn to form brotherhoods among those guys who you dare to call your friends. You see, you learn how to be brothers by being honest about where you're at, what interests you, what motivates you, and more importantly, what doesn't. So, ask your brother, per se, if he's good, if he needs help, and if he needs help, help him. If you need help, speak up to your brothers. I challenge you, no matter how old you and your friends are, to learn to form principles and standards for your brotherhood. You see, keeping each other accountable to them, you need to keep each other accountable to them. You cannot have a brotherhood if you lie, you keep secrets, and you don't walk as forthright young men of principle. And if you have the privilege of having actual siblings in your home, you're not an only child, whether they're older or younger, seek to have the same kind of relationships with them. Because the last thing you want to be is a great friend to those outside your home and a crappy sibling. You see, young men, you are growing stronger. You are growing in wisdom. You're growing stronger through wisdom, intellect, and even your physical nature. Your physical stature, You're growing stronger. But you're growing stronger because God has designed you as a man to walk in such a strength that protects and uplifts the people around him. So care less about how you look this year and more about what people will know you and your last name for. Now, you young women, I want to speak to you as a brother from another slightly darker mother, and as a father to my own daughters, a husband to a wife, one who really cherishes the women and young ladies I have in my life. I don't know what it's like to be a young girl or woman in this crazy world we live in, but I submit the following to you. May whatever beauty you possess be matched and surpassed by your ability to communicate, think upon, and consider the deeper things of life. Despite the challenges of being a girl or a young woman today, know that your looks don't determine the impact that you can have. They can't get in the way of the good plans that your Creator has for you, and that how you think is one of the things, if not the most important thing about you. To all of you, I want to challenge you this year to form two definitions of friendship. First, for the kind of friend you want to be to another when you're at your best. So form a definition for the kind of friend you want to be to those who you will call friends. How will you show up? How will you treat them? How will you speak? Second, for the kind of friends you need to keep helping you be your best. If you do this, you will at least have a small decision-making tool for the days ahead. Doesn't matter if you're 13 or 18. A tool like this will prove powerful because who you are as a friend, who you allow to be your friend, and what your friendships look like will shape your future. Now, for some of you older students, all of you aren't here, but I'm going to say this. You're going to be interested in partying this year. I'm not afraid to say it. I know it already. It's inevitable. But I'd submit this to you. Throw a party this year after you've done something great for someone else. Then you will have something to talk about instead of standing around, seeing who showed up, texting your friends who's coming, and debating on making choices you actually don't want your parents to find out about. You see, the wisdom of this age seeks to make you all foolish. Don't be fools. When you make a mistake, own it. When you lie, go back and tell the truth, no matter the consequences. You will be happy you have done so. Now, being that this is an esteemed institution academically, I respectfully say your grades will not define you. I've never seen a tombstone that has ever read, "Here lies Jonah Torahone, who had a 4.3 GPA his junior year." It's never happened. Okay? But what will play a part in defining you is your attitude towards your studies. Because how you do anything often becomes the way you do everything until your attitude changes. Those of you who are athletes, raise your hand. The same intensity and responsibility you bring to your studies, the discipline, staying up late, bring to the field, bring to the track, bring to the court, bring to the mat. Learn to use those big brains you have. You can put your hands down. Learn to use those big brains you have to think strategically about the sports you play. How do you win? When an opponent does this, what do I do? What do we do? We should do this. We should do that. Don't let Liberty Commons' reputation be they're really smart kids, but they never win. You see, you are already competitive. You compete every day in the classroom. Therefore, compete on game day. Now, I want to talk a little bit about relationships, leadership, and a little more on friendship. You will inevitably see a guy or girl this year that you find cute. You will. Now, it makes you feel awkward, but it's true. If you're in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I say to you, don't even worry about that. You don't understand what's happening or why you feel the way you feel. Okay? 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. I could say to you, don't worry about that either. But, and that would be the wise thing to say, but I know you care very little about some guy that doesn't go to school with you every day. So I say to you, before you think, oh my, he is so hot, or my favorite, bro, she is bad. And before you rush to try to date that person, become friends with them. Watch them. How are they as students? How do they treat their teachers? How do they treat their so-called friends? How do they treat their family? What actually matters to them besides hanging out and hanging out with you? Pay attention to these things. If you take this approach, you can move with wisdom. Because the last thing you want this year is drama or time vampires sucking your blood in an already hard year. Okay? Now, my seniors and my juniors who are in attendance, I want you to work with me for a second. Where are you? Raise your hands. Stand up. I want you to come forward. Come forward. I want you to come up forward and line up in front of me. You're like, oh my, what is he doing? Come on up, move on over this way. Come on, come on. Let's go, fellas, come on. Okay, now I want you to turn around. Look at those young ones. You see, you have the opportunity to change their lives for the better this year. Please don't overlook this. You are not too busy. You don't have that much going on that you cannot be curious and invest into the lives of these young people. Now, all of you, juniors, seniors, take a knee right where you are. Non-juniors, non-seniors, stand up. That's everyone else. If you have to think about it, it's everyone else. Okay. You see these people here on the knee? These people here on the knee. I challenge you this year to seek these people out. Be curious. Ask them questions. Get to know them. May your presence be a form of accountability in their lives as so-called leaders. Don't fear them, but instead learn from them, because the path they walk is the path you will soon walk. Now you can come back up and turn around and face me. Stay standing, all of you. You see, your motto is "Together we rise" for a reason. It's because a group of students who walk these halls together is a powerful group. A group of students who see each other, despite age and differences, knows each other, holds each other accountable, challenges each other, learns from each other. That group of students can handle the pressure, the ups and downs. They will have better grades, and they quite possibly will have the best school year of their lives. So I ask you, and your response will be, "We will," is will you commit to being those type of students this year? I'll ask you again, will you commit to being those kinds of students this year? Okay. So here's the thing. Now I want you all to turn around and look at the adults out there. And here's why. You won't be able to do this by yourselves. I wasn't going to say this, but I want to say this anyway. Just listen to me back of your heads. Your parents don't have it all figured out, right? You know that. But what that means is you don't either. Okay? So don't forget that. But I want to address the adults. Teachers and administrators, faculty, staff, school volunteers. Students, I want you to give a round of applause to all of them. And here's why. You're worthy of that applause because you are doing amazing work. You are aware of the state of our nation. You are aware of the dying minds of America's youth, and you stand in the gap. I can't thank you enough. I cannot salute you enough. You matter so much. Moms in the audience, raise your hands. Moms, yeah, definitely clap it up for the moms. Moms, I call you the minivan mafia, or the SUV squad. I've had the privilege of meeting some of you. You are selfless warriors, diehards, and you are worthy of applause again. But I charge you with this. Don't grow weary. Endure. Endure this year. My fathers, raise your hands. My fathers, I'm going to speak to you candidly. Your physical presence, your candor, your empathy, your courage, and your service in this community, this Liberty Common School community, Northern Colorado, and this country is needed more than ever. I want to say it again, it is needed more than ever. The ideas that seek to corrupt the future of your children, the ideas that seek to tear down your homes and your communities, do so because we are often too busy fulfilling our duty as providers. I know you're busy. I'm busy too. I'm not without blame. But may this be a year in which we find the gaps, that we find the opportunities and step into them. And let us find ways from our own brotherhoods and find ways that we can do that for each other. I have one last note, and you students can turn and face me. I have one last note. It's a simple note. Together you can rise. And here's a very simple way to become that much more together. Eat with each other. Eat more meals together in your homes. Parents, host families every week. Something that's non-related to your team activities and team dinners. Host families. Matter of fact, seek out those families who you look at from afar and say, man, that mom or dad's pretty weird. Seek them out. Have dinner with them. Make it a game night. Host students. Matter of fact, have a debate night. Have a night where you open up religious books and do all the various different things you need to do, but have an intentional time together around a meal. Because it's at the dinner table we find food that nourishes our bodies, we find conversations that enrich our minds, and we find relationships that fortify our souls. Your motto this year is "Together we will rise" for a reason. Because a community of students, parents, teachers, staff, volunteers, etc., who do it together are powerful. Such a group that sees each other, knows each other, challenges each other, holds each other accountable, learns from each other. Such a group that does this can handle the ups and downs. Such a group that does this might literally have the best possible year in the history of Liberty Common Schools. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. That's awesome.